Hey guys, so we're going to go over a quick little tutorial on MyFitnessPal. This is just going to be some of the basics of what we are going to use in the MyFitnessPal app. If you've used it before, this is going to be pretty basic. If you haven't, this is going to show you everything that you do need to know. Like I said, we don't need the paid version. We can do all of this in the free version of the app. So this is just kind of a little list of some of the things that we will go over, which is mainly just for me, so I can keep track of what I have showed you and what I haven't. I'm going to share my phone screen and bear with me just a moment here while I pull this up. Okay, now you should be able to see my diary in MyFitnessPal here. So first things first, just when you're tracking a food, you've got breakfast, lunch, dinner, you've got snacks, and you can track things according to which meal you're in if you want to do that. Or you can be like my husband is, he tracks everything in the breakfast, which is super stressful to me because I am very regimented with a breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So you can track in here where I'm just going to show you a couple things. So for example, we want to weigh out some raw broccoli and we're going to have 100 grams. We've got 100 grams of broccoli on our scale that we're going to weigh out. So I've actually just done this. So I'll show you. All right. When you are looking for an entry, one of the things that you want to make sure you find is one that has grams. So when you click on this, it started out before, I've used this one before, so it's in grams now, but it started out as cups. So I want to go in here and change my serving size to something that has grams. All right, so we're going to go from cup to 1 gram right here at the bottom. So that's going to change to 1 gram. And I want to do 100 grams of it. So that's why my serving size says 100 right here. And then I just hit the check mark and then that's going to go into my diary. So then I'll just hit the back button here and we'll go back and we can see that it tracked the broccoli there. Um, you will see things in cups a lot of times or containers. Like I said, though, grams is going to be the most accurate thing. Unless you're using liquids, then you can use ounces or milliliters. Keep in mind, milliliters and grams are pretty interchangeable. They are within a calorie, sometimes not even a whole calorie apart. So a lot of times I just tell people if your scale doesn't have milliliters and you want to track things by milliliters because that's what's on your food label, just use grams. Ounces are also perfectly acceptable for uh, your liquids. Now, if you're having like half of a container or something like that, you can go in. So this is just one bagel. Some of the things like bagels, for example, if you wanted to weigh it out and make sure that you have 81 grams, you can go in here to say 1 gram and say, let's say your bagel was actually 95 grams. It was a little bit bigger than all the others. You can be exact like that. I don't get super stressed about things like that when they are prepackaged. Like a bagel. They're all pretty similar, so a lot of times I'll just leave it at that. Like if I'm gonna weigh out a bowl of cereal, though, I am gonna change my cereal to 1 gram and say I had 95 grams of it. But anyways, I'm gonna change this back because I just usually use the one bagel here. And one you can say that you had like half, like 0.5. You'll see right here there is an option to do a fraction. So if you knew that you had a fourth of the bagel, you can just go in and do something like that. That's especially useful if you're using something that's prepackaged. If it's prepackaged, like if you're eating a protein bar, for example, you obviously don't have to go in and weigh that on your scale because those are very standard. They're all going to be the exact same and we can just change that to like a fourth of the bar or something. All right, that's pretty basic. You're probably going to have a lot of questions when it comes to just food tracking in general, like specific foods. It's something that you're going to get better at and quicker at with time as you practice. I know a lot of us eat very similar foods, so you're going to get lots of practice and lots of figuring out with the specific foods that you eat. So I won't go into tons of detail on that, but we'll go ahead and just look at some of the other functions. So this tab at the top, we're going to be looking at that the most. This specifically. So this food right here, this is how many calories that I have tracked today. I'm actually going to go ahead and take that broccoli out because I have been tracking my food and I don't want that to be in there. Um, when you click on this little tab at the top here, that's going to show you where your macronutrients are. So you've got your protein, carbs, and your fat for your macros, and then you've got all your other micros. So like your fibers here, you can see how much sugar you've had. Um, all of that good stuff. Now, when you set up MyFitnessPal, I think it gives you the option to go ahead and set goals up depending on like, how much weight you want to lose and how active you are. You can set that up if you want. I wouldn't stress about it because we're actually going to be giving you your goals anyways, that are going to be more specific to you. And I'll show you where you can set that. So I'm actually going to go back out of here and I'm going to go down to these little options where it says more. And then I'm going to hit goals here. Okay, and then I can change if you see right here the calorie, carbs, protein, fat goals, I can click on that. And then I can change my calories and then this will let me do percentages. So I want 45% of my calories to come from carbs, 30 protein, fat 25. And your coach might give you macros based on percentages like this, and you can put it in and it'll be perfect in MyFitnessPal. Sometimes we don't always do perfect percentages like that. So maybe, and I'll show you, it only goes in increments of 5. I think my phone is stuck here. So if we were to give you like, for example, 47% of carbs, you wouldn't be able to get exact on MyFitnessPal. That's totally fine though. Don't worry about it. It just depends. Your coach might go by percentages and they might just be going by, they know that they want to give you 240 grams specifically of carbs. But if it is perfect like that, you can get it as close. You can get it kind of close in here. Um, you just won't be able to look at the goal or the remaining. But I mean, at that point, it really is just a little bit of simple math. So I know if my goal is, 2,200 instead of 21, I can see where I'm at for the day right here and just do the math myself. All right. So that's pretty much it with that. Then the only other thing I think that I wanted to show you guys was copying food from the day before because that's such a nice function. If you are someone that likes to meal prep your food, and you're eating the same thing like for breakfast every day, for example, you can hit these little option buttons and you can go to copy from date or copy to date. So if I wanted to copy my breakfast to tomorrow, I can do that. I can do it for any day I want. So if I wanted to, and I know I'm prep my food for the week for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I could go through and do that for each day. And I don't have to touch MyFitnessPal unless I'm obviously eating something else. But that just makes it simple to be able to track the same foods if we're having the same meals multiple days through the week. Okay, let me go back to my presentation here. Okay, the only thing that I don't think I covered this, so don't look at the exercise. It's highly inaccurate. A lot of times the exercise is coming from like our fitness watches. It's impossible for those things to actually know how many calories you're burning. Even the most accurate ones are really not that accurate. So we don't want to look at that. Make sure if you're MyFit, I think this only does this with the paid version. If you have the paid version, make sure you're turning off the exercise calories. You can do that from the options screen. You don't want to be eating back the calories that you're burning because that's not helping us if you're trying to lose weight, especially. All right. We did not look at this. I actually do want to show you the averages. Give me 1 second because this is very important. Okay, so if you click on this right here, the calories remaining tab at the top, you will see that it is on the day view. So this is how much protein, carbs, fiber, fat, that's how much I've had today. Now, if I were to click on this, I can change this to week view. Now I can see my average protein, carbs, fiber, fat, all my macros. I can see what I've had over the course of the entire week, which is really helpful because if you're coming in here during your check-in on Sunday, I would come and take a look at this. I think you can actually see this screen yourself as a client inside the FitScript app. Um, but it also has it in here for you in MyFitnessPal to see, are your averages close to what your coach gave you? Are they way over? Are they way under? So that way you can kind of get a feel for how well you did based on your goals for the week. Just make sure you change this back. I can't tell you how many times I've done this, but I've left it on the week view and I look at this, and if my goal is 160, I'm like, okay, I need just a little bit more protein. And I'll go in and I'll track something and I'll come back and look at my protein and I'll be like, wait, what? That said it had 30 grams of protein. It's not showing. It's because I had left it on average. So it was only counting up my average. Um, and that will totally throw you off. So just make sure that after you're done looking at your weekly average, you turn it back to your day view so you can see where you're at for the day. All right. I think that's all for that. Just the eating out thing. We just want to use caution because sometimes, even though a restaurant has the calories of a food listed on their menu, there can be some variance, especially like person to person that's making the meal, like on condiments, for example. A really good one is a sandwich shop. So if you got a sandwich that had mayonnaise, you might have someone that puts tons on there, and you might have someone that only puts like one small little line of mayonnaise. And that's something that can increase or decrease the calories of your sandwich by like 200, which is a pretty big deal if we're trying to stay in a deficit. So just use caution with stuff like that. I would suggest a lot of times what I do is just don't get those things on the sandwich, and I'll put it on my sandwich when I take it home, or if I'm eating it there, I'll ask them to just put stuff like that on the side so I can put it on myself. Um, we went over the copying, the meals from day to day, and then some of the foods that you look at are not going to have macros listed. So you might go search for a food, or you might scan it with the barcode and you see the calories, but the macronutrients on that food say zero. And that can really mess you up because you'll look at your end of the day and be like, okay, well, my calories are on target. I was supposed to eat 2,000. It says 2,000, but my macros aren't adding up. What's going on? A lot of times, if you go and click on each food, you will find one of the foods that you tracked that day didn't actually have the macros listed. It only had the calories, and that threw off your macros for the day. So just double check which food entries you're using. All right, so that's pretty much everything that we're going to be using in MyFitnessPal. Like I said, you're probably going to have questions on specifics of the foods that you're eating. If you do, you can always ask your coach, stuff like that. Your check-in at the end of the week is a good time to just kind of gather a list of questions that you've had throughout the week as you're tracking. That way you can ask your coach some of the more specifics that you have.